going into District 13 4A this year was a good thing for the McKinney North golf program. A district championship by 42 strokes over second place Denison. I'm joined by their head coach, Gary Hardin. And coach, going into this year, you get out of that district with Highland Park and Rockwall, move into a slightly easier district, and that really helped your players not only to have the confidence to win the district title, but enabled them to beat the opponents to win that district title.
Absolutely, and of course it's a real hard-working group. Even if we'd have stayed in the other district, I think we'd have made an impact, because this group really is goal-oriented. They had their hearts set. They were very young last year, but we still competed good at the district tournament. But they're hardworking, and they had their hearts set on winning district championship, and it did help moving into a somewhat easier district.
As a coach, what is it like for you seeing these players develop from their freshman year all the way through their senior year, and even with this group just in a year's time?
Well, it's real gratifying. That's what it's all about. I mean, that's why you're in coaching. You work with them, and you can't make them work. It has to be internal, and most of these kids are self-motivated, and they work very hard on their own, and it's real gratifying to see them make progress throughout the year.
Zach Anderson is one of those individuals in particular that he's still a young player, but he has played so well in his first 2 years of varsity golf.
Yeah, Zach came in last year and was he moved right into the varsity and played number 2 or 3 on the varsity all last year, and then this year he stepped in and became the number 1 golfer, and it's because of the hard work he put in.
And he still has 2 more years of school left, and he's already at that number 1 position on your team. So looking ahead into the future, as an individual, what's the limit for his potential?
Well, he's got goals, and he wants to play college golf, and so that keeps him working. As I tell my younger golfers, and I use Zach as an example, you've got to put in the time. You've got to put in the time, and he does. He puts in a lot of extra hours and weekends and summers and so forth. It's not just done on natural ability. He works at it.
And speaking of younger golfers, you have another Zach on your team, Zach Sadinsky, who's a freshman that came into the program this year, and he made an impact on your top 5 in varsity.
Yeah, Zach came in, and like I said, we knew he was a good golfer. We'd seen him before, and he came in and even challenged Zach Anderson for the number 1 slot. In fact, played number 1 a few tournaments. So he's going to be a really good golfer in the future. We're looking forward to him. He also is a very hard worker.
This year you sort of retooled a little bit with your varsity program. You had some players come out that came from a little bit unexpected areas. You had one player that hadn't played in your program the previous year that came out for the team and made it. And you also had another player that rose up from JV to come to varsity.
Right. We knew that going into this year we had 3 good players, but we weren't sure about the other 2. And I had a perennial JVer who had played on the JVs for 3 years. Didn't look like he was going to be able to be consistent enough to be on the varsity, but he came through, and in fact, in some of our later tournaments, even district, shot some scores where we used his scores. Another young man, Aaron Turnbull, was not even in the program last year, had been in the tennis program, and came and asked me if he could try out for the team. And being a junior, I said, it's going to be very hard. But he made the team and ended up making the varsity, and he made a contribution also. So those were 2 welcome surprises that we really needed to step up for us to be a good team.
Now, you went into the regionals after winning your district tournament. You finished 12th in the regionals out of the 16 teams that competed. And certainly there are a ton of strong teams from other districts, but you really felt that you left a little bit on the table in that regional tournament.
We did. It was a big step for us. We had set our sights on winning district, and that was our main focus. When we got to regionals, again, we were around some good teams. Didn't play our best the first day. Got ourselves kind of way behind, but came back the second day, improved 22 shots on our first day, and got settled down. Our nerves were settled down and played a lot better. So that's kind of a springboard for us to build on for next year.
Yeah, that's not easy to do, improve 22 shots over those 5 players. That's about an average of 4 per player, at least improving on their scores from the previous day, and especially going into Arlington for that regional, not necessarily the easiest thing to do at an unfamiliar golf course.
Right. Water Chase is a challenging golf course. A lot of hazards, a lot of water, and if you're not on your game, you can get in trouble in a hurry there, as some teams did. But we played, like I said, much better the second day, and in fact competed with some of the better teams the second day.
As a coach, how do you advise these players when they're in big tournaments like districts and regionals with the golf course? Do you try and tell them these are the holes like you should attack, or you try to play maybe a little bit safer to try to stay away from those hazards?
It's both. You know, we first of all try not to focus on the big picture, on the total score. We just focus one hole at a time, one shot at a time. Try not to look at the big picture. Try not to look at what other teams are doing. Focus on yourself, but that's always sometimes not easy. But there are holes where you have to be careful, and we talked about that, and they followed the plan. I've got to say that for them. They tried to follow the plan. It's just that it didn't always work out for us that first day, but second day we played a lot better.
Going into next season for golf, you have still a lot of young players on your team that are going to continue to improve for next year. So what are some of the team's goals going into next season?
Well, next season we certainly don't want to take district for granted. That's going to be our number one goal, is to win the district championship. But next year we want to take that next step. We'd like to make an impact in regionals and possibly take that step to state, which means we'd have to finish in the top 3. So that's something that we'll be working toward and looking forward to for next year.
And right after that regional performance where you finished 12th, when you talk to your kids about how they did in that tournament, and then looking ahead to next year when they try to get back to that regional tournament, how do you expect them to rebound?
Oh, they'll rebound because they're hard workers, they're task-oriented, they're goal-oriented, and they were disappointed in their performance the first day, but they've been there now, and that experience helps.
Well, it certainly seems like it will, Coach Hardin. Thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Tyler.
It's Gary Hardin, head coach of the McKinney North Bulldogs golf team for boys, and a great season this year for McKinney North golf, the district championship. Now they're going to look to translate into next year a repeat of the district championships and an even better performance at regionals, and try to get to that state tournament in Austin. It's been a fantastic year here at Sports Talk. Some breathtaking playoff runs and memorable performances to remember in McKinney ISD athletics this year. It's been an absolute pleasure to bring you these amazing interviews with the terrific coaches of the MISD. All of this has been made possible by the people who work behind the scenes to make sure every episode of Sports Talk is jam-packed. I want to thank our assistant producer, Seth Olinsky, for his countless hours of hard work, our director for Sports Talk and the woman behind every MET production, Carla Schumacher, our athletic director of McKinney ISD, Sean Pratt, and the producer of Sports Talk who has been involved with this show since its inception, Mike Bruck. And of course, the coaches and athletes of McKinney ISD who we enjoy shining the spotlight on every episode. We're on a 3-month hiatus until the Lions, Broncos, and Bulldogs hit the gridiron for week 0 of the 2013 high school football season. Until then, from all of us here at Sports Talk, I'm Tyler Sloan. Have a great summer.